Good morning, good morning, good morning. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, and you are breathing. Today is Saturday, June the 8th, 2024, and I would like to welcome you all to This Is Just a Thought with Stephen Corner Gay. Hey, I hope everyone is enjoying their Saturday or will enjoy their Saturday. The weekend is finally here. A weekend is finally here. We made it. We made it. We made it. I know many of you probably have the weekend off. That's always a plus. And some of you may have to go in and go to work. That's always the grind. Just is. But before I go any further, hit that like and subscribe button along with that bell icon so you can get notified when I drop these podcasts. Keep you in the loop. There's going to be a lot of interesting topics we will be talking about. I would hate for you guys to miss out on that. So hit that like and subscribe button, like I said, along with that bell icon also. And hey, get in that comment section. Let me know what you guys think. Is it a yay or nay? Should I shut up, be quiet? Or should I continue and talk about some more things? Give me some ideas. Hey, I'm pretty thick-skinned. I won't bite. I won't bite. I just won't. So whether you say I like it or you say I don't, hey, it's your opinion. We're all grown. We can all get along. We can all get along. So let's move along here. Speaking of get along, let's all move along. Today's word of the day, etiquette, which means the rules for proper and polite behavior. Etiquette. I wonder how many people out there, I wonder if they still do this where they have those little etiquette classes and etiquette courses. A lot of civic groups used to do it. I remember they used to do it a lot of times for those that were going to those debutante balls. Do they still have? I found out not too long ago they still have debutante balls. Wow. If you're not too familiar with debutante balls, that's when they get all the little young teenagers from the community. They have this gala, this formal gala where the girls dress in beautiful gowns and the guys in tuxedos, and they dance and eat and talk and socialize and network. So, I'm sure they still, I guess if they're having those debutante balls, they got to have those etiquette classes or etiquette courses. So that's still a plus. Debutante ball, man. I was never invited. I was not one of those elite folks. If you know, then you know. You know. I just wasn't. All right, let's move along here, man. Hey, the weather today is going to be pretty good, I must say. Temps are going to be in the upper 80s, with a real feel of 90-something. They're saying the humidity's not going to be too bad, and it's ushering in some semblance of a cold front that's coming. Temperatures are just going to drop down to the mid-80s. It's not going to, no need to break out your coat just yet, folks. No need to break out your coats just yet. By any and all means, hey, it's still just June. So, hey, that little cool front they're saying coming through, I'll take it. Because, like I always say, you know what's a-coming. You know what's a-coming just like I do. The heat is coming. So I'll take those 80 degrees with those low humidity. And what they're saying also, Sunday, rain is coming. And it's going to be raining quite possibly very much so Sunday and to Monday. But the temperatures for the rest of the week are still going to be in the 80s. I'll take it. In comparison to the West Coast, wow, what's going on out there in the West? They have 3-digit temps. Arizona, well, that's really no surprise. California, that's a bit of a surprise. I'm not saying it doesn't get hot out there, but they've been running 3 digits all week. Wow. Maybe the earth is changing. Maybe global warming is a factor in it all. Or it could just be the sun. Could be. Hey. Arizona is the desert, is it not? Why wouldn't it be in 3 digits? Then it probably drops down to about 20 at night. Nah, I'm just playing. Doesn't do that. But it does drop down when the sun goes down. The temperature in the desert does get rather comfortable. And let's just say that. Some may say downright cold. But it does. But yeah, those out there on the West Coast, man, it is 3 digits, top to bottom. Wow. That's what's coming here. That's what's coming to good old North Carolina, the South. Just is. All right, man. Hey, the NBA Finals, it went down Thursday night, and looks like myself and many others, we have to eat our words. The Boston Celtics were victorious over the Dallas Mavericks, and they did it. I mean, they led from the beginning of the game to the end of the game. The last play, they led the game. I mean, they put on a pretty good show. The Celtics won 107-89. And like I said, they led the entire game coming out the gate from the moment the ball was tipped off. Jaylen Brown was on a warpath. He was on a warpath. He ended the game with 22 points in 37 minutes. And that, man, when I tell you he was on a warpath, he was. And then you had Porzingis. Porzingis came back after being out for nearly, over a month. He finished with 20 points. And, of course, Jason Tatum had 16 points. But it wasn't the offensive play of the Celtics that probably got a lot of folks scratching their head and looking. I mean, we know Jaylen Brown, we know Tatum, we know Porzingis. When he's hitting because he was hitting him. And Porzingis started out the very first half, the very first few minutes in the game until the end when they pulled him out because the game was pretty much over, launching threes. He was launching threes all over the place. But Jaylen Brown was also. But the kicker was their defense. They put the defensive stop on Luka. Now, Luka's going to get what he's going to get. I think he finished up with something like 20-some-odd points or something like that with 30 points. And Kyrie Irving, he finished with like 22 points or something like that. But their defensive play stifled the Mavericks, something we haven't seen. Who's to say? Maybe this series is going to be, like I said, a good one to remember. Because, man, Jaylen Brown and his defensive play and his defensive stops were they were something to marvel at. They just were. He didn't hesitate not one bit. From the moment the ball was tipped off, him and Porzingis, they put in the work. Jason Tatum, of course, like I said, he ended with 16 points. He was there. But it was mainly Porzingis and Brown. Maybe Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum's back up to his old tricks. It just seems like it takes him way too long to get going. And when he starts getting going, it's near the end of the game. And if the Celtics are behind, it's a wrap. I don't know what the mental glitch is, but it just takes him too long to get warmed up for me. Porzingis didn't have any problem. Jaylen Brown didn't have any problems. But, the Dallas Mavericks, man, what happened? Wasn't expecting that. And that, folks, is why I don't bet on any of these damn games. FanDuel and all the rest of them, whatever they are, DraftKings. I know a lot of folks recently sports betting has become legal in North Carolina, and folks are betting the farm. It's going to be a lot of upset folks out here. So now the legalized sports gambling is taking place all across the United States. I will say I am kind of surprised that North Carolina decided to legalize it. I just said, this is, of course, many would say the start of the Bible Belt, the old Bible Belt, the old hellfire and brimstone state. If you know, you know, you know, you know. So, folks are betting on these games, and that's why I never bet on any games, not even just bet against friends or amongst friends. I don't do it. I never do it because you never know which way the ball is going to fall, which way the mop is going to flop. And that game Thursday night showed it because, hey, like I said, I had all my money on the Dallas Mavericks, even though there were some sports analysts that were saying, no, Boston is going to pull it out. They're going to win the whole series. And after Thursday night, I'm sure they were tooting their horns, which they were. Respectively, they had every right to, because Boston was counted out. But hey, Looks like Dallas. We'll see what happens tomorrow night because tomorrow night is game two. That's only the first game of the series, folks. Don't pack up just yet. Don't pack up just yet. So we'll see what happens. We will see how Dallas answers tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, 8 or 8:30. I'll be glued to the TV. I gotta see. It's must see TV for me. I gotta see. I got to see. Wow, I just do. I really do. I got to see what Dallas is going to do. How Kyrie and Luka are going to respond. Kyrie, he played fairly well, but you could tell that defense was on him, and it was on him bad because he was missing shots that he would normally make. Good defensive game. Just was. Hey, look, man, this weekend makes the first weekend in a while that I haven't had any big breaking news on celebrities or politics. For the past 2 or 3 weeks, it's been Diddy, Brother Love, and former President Donald Trump. Nothing this weekend. Regular old news. Hunter Biden still on trial. Who knows how that's going to turn out? Like I told you earlier, that's just politics. That's all it is to me. It just is. Regular citizen, it wouldn't have got this far. They would have been tried and prosecuted right on the spot. I guess you do have some benefits of being the president's son because they're going to a jury trial. Evidence is being presented left and right. The media is all over the place. They're eating it up like gumbo. Wow. If I had done some foolishness like that, I wouldn't even got a byline on the back page of the newspaper where the coupons are. Just wouldn't. So it must be nice being the president's son. Now, President Biden is overseas celebrating or commemorating, I should say, the anniversary of D-Day. And that marked this past maybe Thursday or Friday marked the official start of the U.S. involvement in World War II, some 80 years ago. Wow. And, they had a little interview. They were asking President Biden some questions because he did give a speech to commemorate D-Day. Speaking, of course, about democracy and its importance. And, of course, he slipped in there. Now more than ever, democracy is under attack. I guess that was a slight towards former President Trump. Okay. So they were asking him questions. One of the questions they asked him, it didn't relate to this commemorative celebration of D-Day 80 years ago. It was pretty much about his son, Hunter. They said, if Hunter is by chance convicted, will you pardon him? No. Okay. We'll see. We will see. Because we all know what Hunter Biden's defense team has said that, hey, he was not a drug addict. He wasn't using drugs. He had went to rehab. He had been rehabilitated. He was more or less a alcoholic. He was drinking heavily. Okay. So President Biden said if he's convicted, he will not pardon him. We'll see how that turns out. We will see how that turns out. And also, this is not good. I don't think this is good. I could be out there all alone on that proverbial limb, but man, this may have been a mistake. This may have just been a huge mistake for the United States and the Biden administration, because it came down sometime last week towards the middle of the week that the United States and the Biden administration has given Ukraine the go-ahead to use military-grade weaponry, bombs, missiles, whatever or what have you, and the border of Russia. Mother Russia. So now Ukraine can launch some bombs and some missiles over the border into Russia, just like Russia has been doing to them ever since the start of the war. But they cannot attack the Kremlin or the capital, Moscow, of Russia. But they can use the military weaponry that has been sent. Now, if you remember, let's take a stroll down memory lane. I know they say many of us Americans, we are very forgetful. We forget an awful lot. In fact, that forgetfulness is how and what a lot of politicians rely on. But if you remember when the war first started, or around that time, even before it started, Vladimir Putin made it perfectly clear that any involvement from the U.S. or any allies or any other country, but more specifically the U.S., if any involvement with the U.S. is involved in this Ukrainian war, by any and all means, whatever the case may be, if they're involved in an attack on Russia, then it is a declaration of war, and he will retaliate with all force that he has had. Hinted at nukes. So, the Biden administration authorizes and gives the go-ahead for Ukraine to use United States military-grade weaponry, missiles, bombs, whatever, what have you, inside the border of Russia, to which, once again, Vladimir Putin emphasized again that, hey, if that happens, that's a flat-out declaration of war, and he will take it to heart, and he will defend Mother Russia. I think that's a big mistake on the United States part. I just do. And like I said, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm out on that proverbial limb. But the guy already told you that if you send anything or if by chance or happenstance you guys decide to help Ukraine in any way, shape, form, or fashion, especially with weapons, and those weapons are used inside the border of Russia, it's a declaration of war, and I will defend my homeland with all force that I have available, heading, of course, towards nukes. Wow. Things are heating up. Things are heating up. Not too sure what went into that thought of using or giving Ukraine the go-ahead to use these weapons inside the border of Russia. I imagine it quite possibly could have been, hey, Russia keeps launching bombs and missiles over here. We got to defend ourselves. We got to send a message that we ain't to be played with. So finally, after some time, the United States gave them the go-ahead. And not only did the United States give them the go-ahead, but they gave them some more weaponry, firepower also. Okay. We'll see what happens with this. We will see what happens with this. I have no words. I just don't think it's a good idea. I just don't. Why poke that sleeping bear? I'm sure I would never, ever know. Now, Ukraine does have every right whatsoever under God's creation to defend themselves. Yes, they do. But that right there, or this right here, Vladimir Putin made it clear from the start. It's an all-out war. He's gonna, if he can, or well, when he finds out by chance if Ukraine does launch some missiles and bombs over that border, and they can get the shrapnel, because that's usually how they identify what type of weaponry it is after everything has settled down, and the U.S. is attached to it. He said he's going to attack the United States. It's an act of war. Maybe he didn't really say physically the United States, but I gather any and all allies is going to be a war. Also, in that region, apparently there's a little problem brewing in Poland, because Poland's saying, hey, we aren't prepared for the influx of immigrants or people trying to flee the fighting, and they're overburdening our system, our economy. We don't have it. So that's going on also. That was known at the beginning of the war. There were a lot of folks that were fleeing to the border countries trying to get out of Ukraine. Poland happens to be one of them. And now they're feeling the effects of this war. And they're going to, I feel safe in saying they're going to call on the UN. They are a part of NATO. And so NATO's going to have to come in and help out some way, somehow. I don't think the U.S. can help that much. U.S. is stretched thin as it is. Just is. Well, I'll keep you guys updated on that. Pray nothing really and truthfully jumps off. But man, oh man, oh man, oh man. All right, let's go get it. Hey, we're going to keep it right where we are. Like I told you guys today, this is June, of course. This is Men's Health Month. But here's a little something I didn't know, and I'm sure many of you out there didn't know either. June is also Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. And I talked to you guys when I first started talking to you. I think it was the end of May, or maybe it was the first podcast for Men's Health Month. I told you that I wasn't only going to be diving into and talking about the physical health of men, but we're going to encompass mental health. So June is, of course, Men's Mental Health Month, and that is just as important as, if not important, more important than physical health, because your mind controls so much of what you do, how you get active. You know, one of the main talking points of physical health is getting active, getting up, getting out, getting exercises, getting that blood flowing. Whatever the case may be, it could be walking, running, lifting weights, basketball, tennis. But if your mind's not in it, your mental health is off, then man, you ain't gonna do nothing. And it shows. Now, like I said, June is, of course, Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, but also it is celebrated in November, but it's celebrated in November by the UK. And they used to have this thing where they grow their mustaches out. That's a British thing. Hey, you know how the Brits do. They will go the extra mile. So it's really celebrated, and it's not celebrated nationally anywhere. It's just an awareness and recognition. But for us here in the United States, I think we pretty much do it in June. There's a whole lot going on in June as far as awareness and celebration. Maybe that's why I get so giddy about this time of the year. But Men's Mental Health Month, I got to be honest with you, it hasn't gotten the attention that it so richly deserves. And that's mainly because us as men, we do and we will shut out, block, disregard. Just like I told you, we disregard our little health ailments, our little pains and twinges and creaks until it's too late. We will disregard our mental health. And the thing, if I could say anything, and I know many of you out there, you know it to be true, because I've caught myself doing it also. The reason why most men, or all men, most men, let's not say all men, because there are some men that have finally figured it out. The reason why men really don't discuss or open up or talk to people about their mental health, how they're really feeling inside, is because of the stigma that goes along with being a man. Macho, machismo, suck it up. I've caught myself saying that many a times, and that's no. If you have a problem, so much so that it gets you upset or angry or in a rage, or you're down and out and depressed, the suck it up mantra, that ain't gonna help. That only makes it worse, because you're internalizing everything, and you can't express yourself. You can't get it out. And keeping that internalized, of course, not only does it lead to depression and mental health problems, but physical health as well. Cardiovascular disease, hypertension, strokes. Just like I told you guys earlier this week when I talked about high blood pressure, hypertension, how I really didn't know that my blood pressure was that high. A lot of that, like I said then, I'm saying now, was due to stress. Because physically, as far as eating, there's certain foods you eat that, if you have high blood pressure, you shouldn't eat. I really wasn't eating like that. I lost weight. I didn't lose weight or wasn't eating like that because I was depressed or stressed. It was just something I wanted to do. But think about all those men out there that are actually going through it, that aren't eating, and they're depressed and stressed out. Then you have some that are depressed, because not only will depression make you not eat, but depression will make you overeat as well. There's a lot of men out there like that. I've seen and I know some. And they'll tell you, hey, look, I'm depressed. Not feeling so tough mentally. Yeah. Men can go through that depression where they eat also. The stigma of being a man, it I hate to say this, but it's actual factual. Let's be honest with each other. The stigma that goes along with being a man is a burden. And now it's burdensome towards not only us as adults, but our children as well, our boys, because our boys are experiencing mental health problems and crisis and depression and stress. Because we as men, we tell them, hey, suck it up. I've caught myself numerous times saying it to my sons. And for that, I apologize because now I know that ain't the right way. That ain't nothing. That ain't hitting no 2 cents. Sucking it up. What are you sucking up? Is the question. Sucking up all of that stress, and you don't have any way to release it and let it out. And the end game is depression. You're stressed. You can't think. You can't function. You can't interact with people. No one wants to be around you because you're on edge all the time. Or, because stress can lead to a high level of aggression also. Or you're so stressed and depressed, you're a burden to be around because you're always filled with doom and gloom. No one wants to be around you. Then you sink deeper into depression. Just do. That's just the facts of life. That's the facts of this thing called depression and our mental health as men. We know, I believe wholeheartedly, and I may be out on that proverbial limb by myself like I always am. We got to take away this stigma, this burden. It's a burden. It's not a stigma. It's a burden that we have as men where we say, suck it up, keep it all inside, and it'll get better somehow, some way until it just doesn't. You are overwhelmed, overburdened, and you are about to snap, or you have a heart attack, or you have a stroke. Blood pressure's through the roof. Your heart can't take it. Just can't. Now, the National Institute of Mental Health says, and you know, let me sidetrack a little bit here. During COVID, and like I said, COVID it did a lot of bad, but it may have done some good because it has pushed to the forefront a lot of things that we as regular citizens, male and female, black and white, young and old, were pushing aside. COVID exposed not only men's mental health, but everyone's mental health. That quarantine, isolation. I wonder oftentimes how the single man and woman fared during COVID. And when I say single, I don't mean a live-in boyfriend or girlfriend. I mean a single person that stayed by themselves. Wow. As much of an introvert as I am, I can remember my single days when I didn't have, I stayed by myself. And I tell you, yeah, I enjoyed it, but there were some times where I would be sitting around looking at those 4 walls thinking, man, I ain't got nobody to talk to. What am I going to do? Don't want to talk to yourself because then you're thinking to yourself, man, I'm nuts. So the side note is, how did the mental health and the COVID isolation, how did that affect our mental health or the mental health of those that are single without that live-in girlfriend or boyfriend? Can't wait to see those numbers. They're going to be pretty damn high. They just are. Now, the National Institute of Mental Health says that mental health conditions are more common among women than men. But listen, but that's mainly due because men don't talk. I bet you if men really and truthfully started opening up and talking, those numbers, it would supersede women. It just would. I ain't being no macho machismo, or I'm not being no old softy, or I'm not being some, what do you call that man that is always running his mouth. I'm not being a chauvinist. It's not a race. It's not a contest. It's a fact. If men started to talk more, that number would be through the roof. Now, with the data they do have, they're saying that 51.7% of women with a mental health condition in 2021 received the mental health treatment that they needed. And men only received 40% of the mental health treatment they needed. Now, when I say that, I guarantee you, if men started talking more, that number would shift dramatically and drastically, because this next number I have is going back to 2021, and it's coming from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, where they say that almost all suicides in this country, men make up 80%. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says that as of 2021, with the data they have, that of all the suicides in this country, men make 80% of those suicides. And what little data they did have, they did find that a high number of males, men, young and old, white and black, gay and straight, the suicide rate was high, and it came from men, not women. That stigma is not a stigma, it's a burden. And it's taking a lot of us off of this earth. It's taking a lot of us away from our families and friends. So the old macho, chauvinistic way of thinking, of saying, hey, suck it up, you're a man, or when you were a little boy, I know you heard this because I heard it, boys don't cry. Boys don't whine. Boys don't tell everything. Well, guess what? Those boys that don't cry, those boys that suck it up, those boys that don't tell everything, turn into men that have families, and they do the same exact thing, which ultimately leads to them distancing themselves from those family members, distancing themselves from those kids, and just distancing themselves from everyone. So that's why I say that stigma of what it takes to be a man is really and truthfully a burden. It's a burden. No one says you have to cry your heart out at every given turn, because I certainly don't want to hear that. Every little thing you're up in arms, you're ranting and raving. Who wants to contend with that? That's right up there with the guy who's stressed out, that's highly aggressive and angry. I don't want that foolishness around me. But we have to break that burden. We have to do something where it's okay to say, hey, I don't agree with that. It's weighing heavy on my heart and my mind. And not be considered weak and docile and timid. We got to change that. We just do. With the CDC saying as of 2021, when they did have a chance to gather some numbers, and that was right during COVID, so they were gathering a little data here and there, trying to piece together some things, and now it's 2024, that number is going to be high. When I read that, of course, they were saying that 51.7% of the women were getting the mental health treatment and whatever that they needed, as opposed to 40% of the men, and they could trace it back to the fact that men do not talk, don't open up. They are shut down and keep it all inside. And then, they go further and say that, hey, back in 2021, again, when they were still trying to gather data because of COVID, that the suicide rate, it was high, and it was mainly contributed to men, young and old, white and black, gay and straight. And what they're saying that over all the suicides in this country, 80% of them are men. That ain't a red flag. That ain't an alarming bell. That's a red tarp. We should all be up in arms and trying to figure out how the hell we're going to fix this. Like I said, I get it, got it, understand it, that as a man, we carry a burden of a lot. And we do. Whether you think you can sit there and say to yourself, oh, man, ain't squat, I don't need a man for nothing. I guarantee you will be surprised at the amount of things that we as men, we deal with on a daily basis, and we don't say nothing. We just walk on by. Now, you're going to say, hey, women, we do it the same thing. Yes, you do. But we're talking about men here. We just are. Because there's a lot of fathers, a lot of grandfathers, a lot of uncles, a lot of male cousins that are leaving this earth by suicide heart disease, stroke, and with hypertension. That's a lot. And for those out there that say, I don't need a man for nothing yet, it may not be because I think this saying came from those women that were single and they were pretty much the only one in the household that was providing financially. Get it, got it, understand it. I was raised by a single mother. Not going to get any quarrels from me about that. But you do need a man. A man needs a woman needs a man. That no one can dispute that with me. I know it's your own individual God-given right, whatever circumstances may be that you went through. Get it, got it. But men and women are needed by each and every one of us. Man needs a woman needs a man. That's just the facts of life for me. And I know many of you out there, like I said, for whatever the reason or circumstances, you will argue that point down to the bone. And I can understand it. You'll get no quarrels from me, especially from those single mothers. I was raised by one. You just won't. But men and women need each other, not so much physically, not so much financially, but mentally. Conversating, companionship. And now that that's been broken up, you can tell those numbers. Your interaction with each other day to day. It's been broken. That bond, that is a mental bond, not the physical bond, the mental bond that men and women need and share has been broken. And it's probably why these numbers are so high. It's probably why a lot of women, when they do finally, have to admit, they have mental problems also, just like the men. The men that have to admit. At some point in time in our lives as men, we got to admit that we have mental moments. I'm going to be honest with you. I do. There are many days where I feel like, you know what? I'm about tired of y'all. I'm about tired of you. Mine sometimes comes out as aggression. Surprise, surprise, surprise. It's not depression, aggression. I'm that guy that gets aggravated. Not so much depressed, but aggravated. There's another side of depression also. In fact, many psychologists and doctors and scholars will say the beginning stage of depression is aggression. Become angry. That's a form of depression. That ties into that mental health. Just does. So yeah, there's many days I'd be like, you know what? I'm about tired of y'all. I'm about to tear your whole. I just. Some of the things they say that can help quite possibly us as men with fighting our mental moments is, of course, admitting that we're having a mental moment, or admitting to our problems and finding someone to talk to. It could be a family friend, a pastor, preacher, bishop, whatever your religious denomination. Whatever it takes to get your feelings and emotions out and stop them from being all bottled up inside. And you're pretty much, let's be honest with each other, when you keep all that stuff inside for all these years or whatever, what have you, it's pretty much killing yourself. You're affecting your physical health. But me personally, yeah, I have a friend that I've known for, we've known each other since the 9th grade, well over 30 some odd years. And I rap to him a little bit, and he raps to me a little bit. But my main focal point and how I deal with my mental well-being and my aggression is I pray. And that's something I couldn't find in this article. There wasn't a talk about spirituality. That's something else that has fallen by the wayside for us as human beings, men and women. A lot of time, it's not spirituality, it's religion. Religion is seen as being soft. And that's why I say I'm not really a religious person. I'm more or less a spiritual person. A spiritual person to me, what I've come to learn over the years is your spirituality is your one-on-one working relationship with God. In your darkest moments, you pray. You find refuge in praying. You find refuge in talking to God. That's how I get through it. I just do. I may sometimes I'll go sit off by myself. I welcome it. I'm sure that there are some people that say those that isolate themselves, that's a sign of depression and a mental health problem. My introverted self, I'm just fine with it. If I got to distance myself from folks and all that nonsense they got going on and all that nonsense they're bringing to me and they're trying to put it in my mental, I will. I will appear to be standoffish, obsolete, or whatever whatever little fancy word you want to throw at it. I will be that because I will protect my mental health at any and all costs because I know what goes into it. I know what comes out. So yeah, I'll isolate myself, pray, sit, think, read, meditate, call my homeboy or whatever. We'll rap. He'll call me when he's having a problem. We'll rap, talk it out, and we move on. That's another thing. Check in on your boys. Check in on your homies. Don't wait till they're gone and say to yourself, man, I should have called. It's too late. Call them sometime. Say, hey man, what's up? What's going on? And when they start that all is good, challenge them. That's the first thing we say as men. Oh man, everything's going all right. It's all good. I'm good. No, you ain't. Chances are you're not. Now, with that 80% of the suicides in this country being men, are you a part of that 80%? Are you happy with being a part of that 80%? Possibly. So, hey, check in on your boys. See what's going on with them. It ain't no sign of weakness to say, hey, man, what's going on? We got to start doing that. We got to stop it somewhere because this machismo crap of holding it all in, sucking it up, ain't working. It's killing us. And we're leaving a lot of kids, a lot of sons and daughters, a lot of grandkids, a lot of wives behind. They got to bury us. Whether it be for health reasons or whether it be a mental health reason where you commit suicide. They have to bury us. Dare I say, I can't even imagine. Me personally, I haven't known anyone that has committed suicide, but I can't imagine my kids having to bury me from a suicide. I just don't know. I can't imagine that. There's a saying that says a parent shouldn't have to bury their child. A child shouldn't have to bury their parents because of a suicide. Think about it. Mental health issues have finally gotten the attention that they so richly deserve. Because when I was coming along, you just didn't talk about this. Don't you dare open your mouth and talk about your mental health, the problems you having, the woes you're having. Don't open your mouth. You are soft with a capital T. So I think it's a good thing that we're now beginning to open up and talk about this like we should. We should have been talking about this. Like I said, there's a lot of men that have left this earth by suicide or heart attack or stroke or with high blood pressure that should not have, and it wasn't all physically. Yeah, you had some of it with some bad habits, a lot of smoking and drinking, but why were they smoking and drinking? Stressed out. Why were they overweight? Stressed out. Holding it all in. So yeah, I can honestly say I think it's a good thing that attention is being brought to this. More attention needs to be brought to this. Needs to stay at the forefront. Just like I told you, hey, a child shouldn't have to bury their parent because of suicide. Just shouldn't. I'm sorry. I don't know. I hope and pray, and I pray to the good Lord every day that I will never get to that point that my kids have to bury me because of a suicide. Not trying to shame anyone, but just think about it. No, the kids should bury you of old age. Just should. Yeah, they just should. All right. I'm not going to dive in that much. Might freak a lot of you out. But yeah, the mental health issue with men, of course, like I said, June is Mental Health Awareness Month. We have got to get a handle on our mental health as men. Whatever the case may be, who you need to talk to, where you need to go. If you don't feel comfortable talking to a family friend or relative or family member, or you don't feel comfortable talking to a pastor or whatever, you want to remain anonymous, there is that suicide prevention helpline. I believe it's 988. Is that it? I think that is it. Call and talk to them by all means. Find someone to talk to. It's a simple thing as talking, but it can be the hardest thing because you have to put yourself out there. You have to open up and be vulnerable. And most people can't do it. I find it hard sometimes myself. I still fight with that. And hey, but I would much rather give the appearance of being weak, soft, docile, and timid than to keep all that crap inside of me and then all of a sudden I'm gone. Either I've taken my life or I've died of a heart attack or stroke because of stress. That's just my thinking. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm always out on that proverbial limb, like I always say. I am. But I'd rather go out that way as opposed. So yeah, hey, if you guys are out there listening, and if you're having problems, find someone to talk to. Pray. Or if you don't do either of those things, call that suicide prevention helpline, 988. Is that the number? I think that is the number. Yeah, 988. Call or text, 988. Finding somebody to talk to. It's okay. Ain't no shame in your game. I think the shame would be if you keep it all inside and then something happens. Yeah, that's the shame for me. Then again, what do I know? What do I know? All right, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to skedaddle. I kept you guys long enough. Hey, as always, I want to thank you all for lending me your ears this morning. Continue to like, support, share. Get in that comment section. Let me know what you guys think about this man's mental health. Is it a bigger deal as we're now finding out, or is this something that, hey, we can continue to just sweep under the rug and ignore until it's not? With 80% of the suicide rates in this country and 80% coming, of all the suicides in this country and 80% of it coming from men, I think now is the time we step up and we start talking. And we need to have some open, frank conversations with ourselves and with whoever we choose to. Just do. So yeah, hit that like and subscribe button. Get in that comment section. Let me know what you guys think. Hit that bell icon also, so you get notified when I drop these podcasts. And as always, thank you for listening to This Is Just a Thought with Stephen Corner Gay. Amen.